Hello and welcome to The Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Szamuely. With me today, of course, is co-founder of The Gaggle, Peter Lavelle, host also of RT's talk show Crosstalk. Well, the waiting is finally over. Tonight is the night when President Joe Biden will hold his first press conference. It's been a long time. He's beaten all presidential records of recent times in not holding a press conference. It's been now more than 2 months, but finally he's going to have it. And so Peter and I are going to offer our predictions as to what will happen. And then tomorrow we will go over it and see which one of us got it wrong more than the other. All right, Peter, I would predict that he will surpass the extraordinarily low expectations that everyone has for him. Remember, during the debates, everyone thought that he would be an absolute disaster. And so as long as he stayed on his 2 feet, didn't collapse, didn't fall asleep, didn't say anything totally idiotic, he was immediately hailed as the victor. I suspect something like this will happen tonight as well. What do you think?
Well, first of all, we're going to see the structure of the presser. Will it be cherry picked, where we'll have very limited? It'll be very short. The question, he will know the questions in advance because the media is compliant. The fact that he isn't Donald Trump, they'll bend over backwards and give him a tongue bath anytime they want. We've seen that already. I mean, Jen Psaki is just puts on an extraordinary show every single day. She's surreal now. This administration is surreal in its disclosures and transparency. It's just surreal. The border is closed. Oh, okay. I think we got something in the last news cycle that the administration dropped into our lap, which I think is really quite interesting, is that Kamala Harris now is the point person for the border. Now that is really interesting. The day before the presser, that's not a coincidence. So when he's asked a question about it, of course, I think it's pre-planned. He'll say, well, you have to ask the vice president about that. Okay. And he's going to, and I will predict also that he will do that with other portfolios. Well, I want you to speak to the Secretary of State about that. You can talk to the Secretary of Defense about that. I think that's what he's going to do, because personally, my observations with my own eyes watching his media appearances, he's a bit on the edge there, okay? And we'll see also how his handlers deal with it. I think the president has already answered that question. Suffice to say, he's already answered it, because a real presser is and Donald Trump was the greatest of all time follow-ups. I mean, he'll go follow up with you until you're blue in the face. Yes. I doubt we're going to see that with Joe Biden. I mean, you started this out just perfectly. You pitched it the right way. It's going to be of the lowest expectations. If he can answer 6 questions and get off that stage, herald it as a great achievement for this presidency.
And that's why I wonder, I mean, I don't know, because we obviously don't know what goes on inside the White House. We don't know his true condition, but it is possible that he's having us on. That he's a crafty character. He's always been a crafty character, and this whole doddery "where am I" routine actually serves him well. He may well know exactly what's going on, but because he seems so out of it, no one expects anything much from him. So he may just be manipulating us. I mean, we'll see today, but I mean, it's kind of what happened with the debates. We all thought, oh, Trump is going to wipe the floor with him. It didn't happen that way. I mean, he didn't do well, no question. He didn't do well, but he didn't didn't fall flat on his face as we expected. So there's a possibility. I don't know. Maybe just having us on.
That's such a smart observation, and I think there's a kernel of truth in it. The real dynamic that we'll have to watch is how the press deals with him. It's not really Joe Biden per se, because if he's not going to be asked any tough questions, or he'll be, they'll give the reporter will give the answer in the question, if you know what I mean, and
Right.
so Joe can just play along with it. But you're absolutely right. He's a real cunning guy, okay, and you don't survive in Washington that long, okay. I mean, you're crafty,
Yeah.
probably deeply dishonest and
Very
corrupt, and
exactly.
that's par for the course here. But it's something they have to do. There's so much out there with conservative media talking about the border, for example, the disastrous Anchorage summit, we have to admit, and we do our best here. I mean, even the mainstream media is beginning to,
Right.
they're circling the wagons a little bit too. That basically, what I see them is saying, let us help you. Let us help you, but you have to give us something so we can help you back. That's you see that kind of relationship.
Oh, I absolutely agree, because when you look at, let's say, look at just the foreign policy, it's hard to think of any president in recent times who has started off as disastrously as Biden. I mean, you had the Anchorage summit, then you had
The
uh,
killer, the
yeah,
killer comment.
yeah, exactly. He's basically failed on Iran after all the talk about the JCPOA. He hasn't done anything about that. He's Maduro. He's pursuing the same policy as his predecessor. Um, and in the meantime, we had this week this extraordinarily warm meeting between Russia and China, where they were so fulsome about each other, and people are watching that and they say, well, then these people are really friends. Whereas here's the United States that has got itself into a mess, even with its closest ally, Germany, by annoying them with Nord Stream 2. I mean, so it's like you failed at every single level. Now, the media are not going to present him with that, but as you say, they'll throw him a lifeline and say, hey, can you please give a good justification for what the hell you're doing?
Yeah, you're right. And the reason that I think there's so much confusion is because the president isn't giving direction. Okay, I mean, he profusely complimented Blinken for what is a mystery to all of us here. You're right. I mean, there's no coherence here. And that's why we're all asking ourselves who's giving the orders here. The going back to your point that he's might have us trying to trick us a little bit. I think he does have cognitive issues. Okay, and that happens when you get old here.
Right. Because there've been too many of these kind of instances. Right. When he's when you can't believe that he's putting this on. I mean, this really looks like
but he could be but he could be embellishing it to to fake us out. Okay, I don't discount that possibility. I'm going to stick with my first observation here is that I'm going to see how much he's delegating, because I think that will tell you what's going on.
I agree with you. I think that's what he will do, exactly. So when he's asked these awkward questions about what's going on the border, he will say, he'll do the usual spiel. It's all Trump's fault. He left us with a mess. The border was out of control when I took over. But when it comes to the specifics, Kamala, is a safe pair of hands, and she will address the problem.
I think that the White House has probably made it very clear to the people that will be anointed to ask questions that stay away from numbers. Okay, please stay away from numbers. Okay, because you're having a hard time with numbers.
The numbers, exactly. Population of the United States is 350. So yes. Yeah, no, I think that's right. It'd be interesting though, whether is he going to call upon any critical media voices. There aren't too many. The only one I can think of is that guy on Fox News, Ducey. So it'd be interesting whether he does. It's going to be hard for him to avoid calling him, because it'll look too staged. if he only calls on friendly reporters. So, it'll be interesting how he handles Ducey, because Ducey will probably ask him something very, very tricky. That will, my prediction is that he will call Ducey, and I think he probably won't answer him terribly well, but he will at least get through it without making too many blunders.
I think what it'll get down to at the end of the day, and I'm actually convinced of this, is that Joe Biden's favorite critic, Sean Hannity, will go ballistic and say how terrible it was, because Hannity's on at 9, so I don't know when the
I'm not sure. Is it at 8 or 9? Nine is very late for Biden. I don't know whether he's going to be able to stay awake till 9.
What will happen is that it'll be in the eyes of the beholder. Okay, a CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, Washington Post will say, well, he made it through.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. And then his critics online, in the blog sphere, podcasters will rip him apart. I'm guaranteeing our viewers that's exactly what it's going to be. The answer wasn't so bad. Okay, right. And so what? He took a card out of his pocket. So what? Okay. Right. Right. So, I mean, it's really what you want to see. Right. If he doesn't completely fall apart, and you're right. Absolutely right. During the debate, I mean, the first debate, Trump, Biden, Trump allowed Biden to play into his hands in the sense that Trump wouldn't let him speak. The other strategy, the strategy should have been let him talk.
Right. No, I think so. I actually thought Trump did okay in that debate. I didn't agree with the conventional view, and we discussed it at the time that he did so terribly. I thought he did okay. I thought he was aggressive, but again, there's a media consensus that is immediately forms, and boom, Trump was terrible. He was so aggressive. We wouldn't let him speak, and so on. But I thought, for instance, Biden was insolent and very rude to Trump in the way Trump wasn't rude to him. I mean, I think Biden called him an idiot or something like that.
No, we've never seen this on the debate stage ever. I mean, I can remember Ronald Reagan saying he won't allow Walter Mondale's relative views be an issue in this campaign. I mean, brilliance. That was a brilliance. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Or who was it? John Connolly, you're no Kennedy to Quayle.
That was Lloyd Benson. That was
Lloyd Benson. Excuse me.
No. Well, it's both from Texas. That was devastating. These things happen. But with press conferences, I mean, if you've got a reasonably friendly press corps, you should be able to get through. I mean, it's it's only a disaster if you're going to have unfriendly. I mean, you probably remember some of those Nixon press conferences. Those were combative.
And rather.
Right, and because they didn't like Nixon. Nixon palpably didn't like them, and so it got very, very testy. But
not rude. But never rude.
No, never rude. No, it was never. No, that's exactly. And that's why it was different in the case of Trump, because there were rude people like
Acosta.
Acosta, exactly. Well, the name escaped me. Yeah, Jim Acosta were personally insulting and just disrespectful. I mean, you may not like Trump; he's the president, and you have to, basically, it's up to a reporter to respect the office. I mean, he's holding the office. He was elected to this office. You can't just talk to him as if he's just some guy at the bar. And that, I think, didn't exist in the case of when he was with Nixon. I mean, they hated Nixon, but they were still nonetheless maintained the respect for the office. But here, I think they're just going to be, giving him a candy,
Well, no, I mean, let's make it clear. He's not Donald Trump. That's the point. Right. It has nothing to do with Joe Biden. I mean, this whole administration has nothing to do with Joe Biden. Right. Okay, let's face it. Okay, the election didn't have anything to do with Joe. Right. Okay, and now who's been delegated what? Okay, you can't. That's like trying to fix an airplane while it's flying. Okay, it's pretty dangerous. Okay. You're flying on luck, okay? Right. So I think obviously we'll get a sense of him as a man, him as a president, and if it's longer than 15 or 20 minutes, we'll have an indication of his vigor. Okay.
Right. No,
I think that's important.
he's certainly been prepping for a long time. I mean, it's clear. I mean, he's kind of vanished from view. So it's taking a lot of prepping. That same thing happened during the debate. You remember, while Trump was campaigning, Biden was in seclusion being prepped for the debate. Which itself is amazing that a senior politician needs this amount of prepping.
After all these decades in politics.
Yeah.
Obviously, the game plan in the ops shop for the Biden people is not a catastrophe. Anything less than a catastrophe, they'll pass them. The media will give them a pass.
Right. No, I think so. And I imagine he will do what Obama used to do, which is to have a list of reporters that he will call upon. Trump dispensed with that. He just, was people, put their hands up, exactly. And so, and then he kind of, the presser stopped when no one really had any more questions to ask. I mean, he just went through it, like, their hands up until they were already exhausted.
How much jet fuel did Trump waste when he was waiting, his helicopters behind him, and he talked and talked and talked and talked. Yeah, I miss those days. It was something.
Oh, I agree. No, I think so. I watched on YouTube the other day the Helsinki meeting between Trump and Putin, and then you saw Trump being very vigorous and challenging the reporters and dismissing all this. Well, the intelligence services have this and this. Well, what do I care? I mean, that's what they say. Putin tells me something different. I don't know. Let's investigate. I mean, remember his initial response was, well, the Russians are willing to cooperate on investigating about the hacks. Let's take the Russians up on their offer. Of course, everyone screamed with hysteria, and it never happened. But nonetheless, he seemed kind of a model of vigor and poise and energy compared to what we have now.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons the social media platforms don't want his supporters to see him. Okay, they see, because always the juxtaposition. If Trump were on one of these, and of course we're told he's going to be on one soon. We'll see if that happens. Is that there's the obvious contrast of the vigor of Donald Trump, irrespective if you like what he has to say, and the rather, let's say, controlled delivery of Joe. Okay, I'm being generous here.
It is hard work, paying attention to it, because it's just really, really slow and boring when he's around. He talks in this very dreary, monotonous way. It's hard to hear what he's saying. It's just hard to listen to it.
It was like a week ago, maybe longer. He was in a shop, a supermarket or something like that, a hardware store or something like that. And all of the questions are being yelled at him, and he was just looking around as if like, where am I? He seemed very, very confused. That's what it looked like to me. I want to make it very clear. A lot of people are talking about this. I am not a doctor. George is not a doctor. We have no medical expertise. No. We're just judging on what our observations, which I think is fair game because he is in the public eye.
No, I think so. And I think the issue of the health of a president should be something that people debate. I mean, it's a serious issue. I mean, we had that with Woodrow Wilson, where he was incapacitated for the last 18 months of his presidency. And so, FDR was also incapacitated for the last few months of his presidency again. So it really is an issue. Who's making crucial decisions about war and peace? It's not the person who was elected. So I think it is absolutely fair game to talk about it. I mean, we obviously, since we don't have the medical records, we're only, and we're not doctors, we can only speculate. But it's a perfectly legitimate speculation.
I mean, who would have thought? It's such a strange time that we live in. I mean, Joe's presser is going to get a lot of coverage because people want to know if he's going to make it through. It's so weird.
It is. That's another one of the weird aspects of it, is that people watching this are going to be watching it to see if he makes it through. And remember, if he makes this through, that's it. We're not going to have another one for about another 12 months because I did it, over and done with. Not going to do this again.
And when you think of the State of the Union, it's very clear the President of the United States does not have to do it in person. He actually can delegate someone to do it.
Right.
Joe could do it using the pandemic conditions. He could they could record 3 hours and then splice it up and send it over to Congress. Okay. A message from the chief executive has to be given to Congress, but there's a lot of gray area in how it's done.
Right. Yeah, no, I think so. So what is your prediction? How long do you think it's going to last?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. All right. Okay, we're betting beers here, or whatever your poison is. 25 minutes.
25 minutes. Well, I think that's, I probably say it's a little bit longer, maybe more around 35 to 40, because he's a slow talker. And therefore it's going to take, he's going to really drag out these answers. In 35 minutes, he'll answer about four, 5 questions, and then that's it. I'm done. I've done everything. And as you say, he will have delegated. Hey, well, if you have questions about what the military is up to in Syria,
talk to that guy that's in that building.
Right, exactly. Yeah, the guy who's the guy who's in the Pentagon. If you have any questions on Iran or whatever, talk to the Secretary of State guy. Border, that's.
And where's Kamala? Where is she?
President Harris. I wonder how many times you refer to President Harris is on the job.
Just as you mentioned it, did you see the clip where she was after you going down to the border and she laughed?
Yes, I did. Yes. A very, very strange laugh. I mean, he just laughing at the most inappropriate moments. I wonder where she learned that habit.
It's nervous. It's a nervous laughter. It's what it is. It's a nervous laughter.
Yeah, it is. And again, surprising that somebody, prominent in public life, I mean, she's been a senator, she's been an attorney general, should still be so nervous.
Yeah. She's just counting the days, George.
She's counting the days, yeah. Well, Hillary Clinton had that quality as well, the sort of the inappropriate cackle.
No, I think what it is that it's a defensive mechanism. Instead of expressing aggression, you laugh. It's a substitute for it. Yes. Okay, because Hillary Clinton, when she did her cackling, she had spears in her arms and her eyes, and she wanted to eliminate, annihilate, destroy. And then it kicks in. She laughed. So it's very similar to Hillary Clinton that way. Yes. I mean, these people are just power hungry. They have no ideas.
Right. No. That's very true. And of course, was it yesterday when the story emerged about how Bill Clinton will be consulted about women and
what was it? Jeffrey Epstein wasn't available?
Exactly, Jeffrey Epstein. And I think Tucker Carlson asked Mark Stein. I think it was somebody else saying something like,
"It was Mark."
Yeah. How many ways can you show your contempt for everybody? I mean, this is thing. Well, what can we do to show our utter disdain for what the public feels? Oh yes, let's put Bill Clinton in charge of concern about women. So yeah, that was it was an extraordinary. Now.
I mean, considering Kamala Harris was was Kavanaugh's greatest nemesis. And now she's going to share a stage with Bill Clinton. People notice this stuff. This is it's beyond.
That's right. And remember, of course, during the election campaign, when she said, yeah, she believes Biden's accuser. So in other words, she believes that her boss is a rapist. That's it. I mean, and no one asks her, at what point did you stop thinking that your boss was a rapist? What was it that persuaded you that he wasn't a rapist?
I'm afraid, George, she would just cackle.
Well, we will see what happens, as Trump used to say. So we'll recap this in our podcast tomorrow. So remember, we are now on Rumble. Please look us up on Rumble. And if you like the gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye.